You're listening to the Power Agent Blogcast, empowering agents to elevate their business to the next level.
Challenges are just a guide, leading you, don't run and hide. You've got the heart, you've got the drive, feel it pound, you're alive. Power Agent.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are so glad you were joining us today.
Absolutely.
I want you to imagine something for a second. Just, picture this. Imagine starting your career, sitting at a secretary's desk at a local television station in Atlanta.
Right, just answering phones.
Yeah, answering phones, typing up memos, just doing the absolute daily grind. Now, fast forward. Imagine that from those humble beginnings, you eventually build the world's largest independent real estate network.
It's wild.
We are talking about an absolute empire. 575 brokerages, 130,000 sales associates, and a staggering $365 billion in annual volume.
The scale of that achievement is just massive. It's an almost incomprehensible trajectory when you look at where she started.
It sounds like the plot of a movie, but that is the real-life career trajectory of Pamela O'Connor. She served as the founding president and CEO of leading real estate companies of the world.
Also known as Leading Year.
Right, Leading ES. And she ran that from 1997 all the way until her retirement in 2018.
That is a very long tenure for a CEO.
It really is. So today, our mission in this deep dive is to extract the absolute leadership gold from a fantastic article by Darryl Davis.
He's a real estate coach, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He sat down and interviewed O'Connor to figure out exactly how she did it. And here is the spoiler alert. She didn't achieve this with some rigid, ruthless master plan. It was actually built on quiet, incredibly durable personal traits. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because to reach that level of success, you would naturally assume she was, aggressively clawing her way to the top with absolute certainty every single step of the way.
Like a traditional corporate shark.
Yeah, but the reality is so much more grounded.
To establish our framework for today, it is important to point out that while the context of this source material is the real estate industry, O'Connor's story is really a masterclass in the long game of leadership for absolutely any industry.
Oh, 100%.
Whether you are in tech, healthcare, education, or running a small business, the core principles apply. We are looking at a masterclass in how to navigate massive industry disruption, how to cultivate unshakable optimism, and how to deeply, genuinely understand the people you serve.
What I found so compelling is that her defining characteristic, the thing that really set her apart from the typical corporate titan, was actually her courage to admit what she didn't know.
What's fascinating here is how early she had to lean into that trait. The interview highlights a massive turning point in her life, which we could call the age 35 crisis.
The age 35 crisis.
Yeah. She's 35 years old, and she gets offered the CEO role at a company called Allpoints.
Which is huge.
Right. Most people would be popping champagne, updating their resume, and shouting it from the rooftops. O'Connor actually tried to talk the board out of hiring her.
She tried to talk them out of it.
She did. She went to a board member named Porter and plainly told him, "I don't know how to be a CEO. You could do better."
I have to pause you there. Because telling a board of directors, I don't know how to be a CEO, feels like absolute career suicide in a cutthroat corporate environment.
It really does.
Does walking into a boardroom and saying, I don't know, actually work? Or does it usually just get you fired?
It is a great question because there is a very fine line between vulnerability and incompetence. But Porter's response to her in that moment is just a phenomenal piece of wisdom.
Yeah.
And it became one of the major breakthrough moments of her career.
What did he say?
He looked at her and said, "If we have faith in you, you need to have faith in yourself."
Wow. If we have faith in you, you need to have faith in yourself.
Exactly. He wasn't hiring her because she had all the answers memorized. He was hiring her because of her capacity to figure things out. It changes the whole paradigm of what we think leadership is supposed to look like.
It totally shifts the pressure off of having to be perfect.
Yes. The broader implication here is that true confidence isn't about projecting a flawless, invincible version of yourself. True confidence is actually about being comfortable enough in your own skin to admit your gaps.
It takes a lot of ego checking to admit those gaps out loud.
It does. It is about asking questions without fear of looking foolish and then actively hiring people who have the skills that you lack. O'Connor observed that the people who constantly portray that they have all the answers,
The ones who refuse to ask for help.
right, Those are usually the ones hiding a deep lack of self-confidence. They are terrified of being found out.
So true. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most secure.
Yeah.
And O'Connor really viewed this kind of vulnerability as a legitimate mechanical leadership tool.
Absolutely.
The source shares this incredible story she told about a credit union CEO. This CEO was trying to connect with his employees, trying to bridge that massive gap between the corner office and the front line.
Which is notoriously difficult to do.
Very difficult. So at a company event, instead of giving a standard, polished corporate speech about quarterly earnings, he shared a deeply personal story about his own childhood poverty.
If we connect this to the listener, this is exactly why this matters for your own career. That credit union CEO noted that his moment of vulnerability changed his employees' entire view of him overnight.
They actually saw him as human.
Yes. They started actually coming up and talking to him in the break room. Authenticity, the ability to laugh at yourself, to acknowledge uncertainty, and to share real human experiences builds a level of trust that no fancy job title or organizational chart could ever manufacture.
Yeah, you can't fake that.
You really can't. O'Connor puts it brilliantly in the interview. She says, sometimes you have to give up control to get control.
Give up control to get control. I love that. But how does a leader actually do that mechanically? Giving up control sounds great in theory, but in practice, how do you implement that without just letting the inmates run the asylum?
You do it by shifting the dynamic from a dictatorship to a collaboration. Instead of walking into a meeting and saying, here is the problem and here's my solution, go execute it.
Which is what most bosses do.
Right. Instead of that, you walk in and say, here is the problem. I don't have the answer yet. What do you see from your vantage point that I am missing?
Oh, that's good.
The more you let people into the problem-solving process, the more they will naturally invest in you and the success of the project. They take ownership.
That makes a lot of sense. The sheer discipline it takes to let go of that steering wheel is impressive. And that lack of direct control was basically the defining feature of the organization she had to manage.
It was the core of her entire business model.
Yeah. We are talking about an organization made up of hundreds of independent broker owners. Managing an organization of hundreds of independent business owners rather than traditional W-2 employees is a unique recipe for chaos.
You cannot just issue a mandate from corporate and expect them to fall in line.
Not at all.
They own their own businesses, they have their own brands, they are highly successful people with incredibly strong personalities.
O'Connor had this deceptively simple secret to managing them, though. She made a massive mindset shift. She always remembered that she worked for them.
Right, not the other way around.
Because she truly internalized that.
Yeah.
They sensed it in every single interaction.
She didn't just stop at having a good attitude about serving them, though. She built an entire strategic framework around that radical customer focus. She analyzed what these independent brokers actually needed to survive and thrive, and she managed to narrow it down to exactly 3 things.
Just 3 things out of all that complexity.
Just 3. Number 1, recruiting good agents. Number 2, retaining good agents. And number 3, profitability. That was it.
It is brilliant in its simplicity.
Think of this 3-pillar framework like a ruthless bouncer at a very exclusive nightclub.
Okay, I like this analogy.
If a new initiative, a new software program, or a big corporate decision walked up to the door, the bouncer checked the VIP list. Does this support recruiting? Does it support retention?
No.
Does it support profitability?
Right.
Then it is not getting through the door. The idea was killed on the spot, no matter how shiny or exciting it looked.
I love the bouncer concept. It acts as an absolute filter. It forces you to ask yourself, as you are listening to this right now, what are the core pillars the people you serve actually care about? What is on your VIP list?
Finding those pillars is often the hardest part for a leader. You have to have the discipline to say no to a lot of genuinely good ideas simply because they do not fit the core mission.
Which is tough.
Very tough. But that kind of radical simplification is crucial, especially when you consider the sheer volume of disruption O'Connor had to navigate during her tenure.
The laundry list of crises she led this organization through is staggering. Just think about the timeline from 1997 to 2018 and beyond. She had to navigate the initial rise of the internet, completely changing how people search for homes.
A total paradigm shift?
Then came the rise of Zillow. Then the catastrophic 2008 financial crash. Then threats from third-party relocation companies. Then massive corporate consolidation waves led by tech-backed companies like Compass. And more recently, The industry has been facing the massive NIR settlement.
And for context on the NAR, the National Association of Realtor Settlement, the core issue driving this massive industry shift is public confusion over how buyer and seller agent commissions are split. And just to be absolutely clear here...
Right, we are strictly remaining impartial.
Exactly. We are not here to validate or invalidate the lawsuits themselves. We are just reporting O'Connor's observation from the article.
Yes.
She noted that these lawsuits gain significant traction because consumers fundamentally do not understand how real estate commissions work, where the money goes, or the daily work agents actually perform to earn that compensation.
Looking at that massive list of crises, from the internet rewriting the rules to the 2008 crash pulling the rug out from the global economy, how do you not just paralyze your entire organization with panic?
It's a miracle they didn't all just freeze.
The article introduces a quote from General George Patton that really captures O'Connor's philosophy here. When everybody's thinking alike, somebody's not thinking.
That is such a powerful quote. When the whole industry is panicking and looking at the downside, you have to be the one looking at things differently.
Here's where it gets really interesting. O'Connor describes real estate as a chicken little business.
The sky is always falling.
Always. But her take is that every single one of these massive disruptions contains an embedded opportunity. The leader's primary job is to be the person who can see that opportunity when everyone else is just staring at the falling sky.
This brings us to optimism as an actual, tangible strategy. She notes, you can't always control the environment, but you can control the way you respond to it.
Which is very stoic.
It is. Being the calm, optimistic voice in a room full of panic isn't just feel-good fluff. It isn't toxic positivity where you ignore the fire burning in the corner.
Right, you're not pretending the fire isn't there.
Exactly. It is a literal competitive advantage. You acknowledge the fire, but you are the one calmly pointing out the emergency exit while everyone else is screaming.
That's a great way to put it.
When things get chaotic, people desperately want to work for, and alongside, leaders who make them feel like the future is actually navigable.
Calm is contagious, but so is panic. If you are the calm one, people will flock to you. But even with optimism and a cool head, you still have to deal with the realities of public perception and market forces.
This raises an important question. How does an entire industry, or even just an individual professional listening to this, protect themselves from public distrust?
O'Connor had a very sharp observation about this. She said the real estate industry fundamentally failed to tell its own story to the public.
It's so true.
Her solution wasn't just to do more marketing or chest beating or inventing a bunch of new alphabet soup designations, those random strings of letters people put after their names on business cards that the average consumer doesn't even understand.
If the public doesn't understand the work you do on their behalf every single day, they're naturally going to question your compensation.
Of course they are.
The solution is developing credible, verifiable ways to demonstrate true, validated expertise to the public. You have to actively show them the heavy lifting that happens behind the scenes.
Make the invisible visible.
Exactly. This is true in real estate, but it is true in consulting, freelance work, legal services, really anywhere where the value isn't immediately visible as a physical product on a shelf.
This exact problem of demonstrating value is why Darryl Davis's perspective in this article is so critical.
His credentials are insane.
They really are. He spent 35 years coaching over 600,000 sales professionals on how to navigate this exact kind of market noise. He also holds a certified speaking professional designation, which is an honor given to less than 2% of speakers worldwide.
So he isn't just theorizing.
Not at all. He has been in the trenches helping people survive shifting markets for decades. His advice to the people actually doing the work is incredibly grounding.
At the end of the article, Davis shifts from interviewing O'Connor to speaking directly to the professionals who are dealing with all this unpredictability.
I wanted to deliver his advice directly to you, the listener, because whether you are selling houses, writing code, or managing a team, this applies. Davis passionately reminds us that your commission check or your salary does not define your worth.
That is so important to hear.
The market you are working in right now does not define your value. A slow season or a tough quarter does not mean you do not belong in your field. He acknowledges that the change and the noise are real, and it isn't easy. But he urges professionals not to let that noise shake their core identity.
He shares what I think is the golden rule of growth, and it is a standout quote from the piece. Don't compare your Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 10.
Don't compare your Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 10. It is so easy to say don't compare, but how do you actually stop doing it when LinkedIn and social media are right there constantly showing you everyone else's highlight reels.
You stop by realizing that you are looking at a curated end product, not the messy process it took to get there. You are seeing someone's massive success and feeling like you are failing without realizing they have been quietly grinding at it for a decade.
So what's the mechanical fix for that?
Davis's mechanical advice for tuning out that noise is to stay the course and hyper-focus on your own immediate environment. Start your day with gratitude to ground your mindset. Know your specific market or your specific industry niche better than absolutely anyone else in the room. Just keep serving your clients at the highest possible level.
Focus on what you can control.
Exactly. Every disruption ultimately creates a vacuum, and that vacuum becomes an opportunity for the professionals who stay curious and stay committed rather than getting distracted by comparison.
If dealing with all this disruption requires so much endurance and hyper-focus, how did she know when it was finally time to step away?
That's a great transition.
Which brings us to our final point from O'Connor's journey, the art of the exit. O'Connor was highly intentional about her retirement in 2018. It wasn't an abrupt departure born out of burnout. It was a carefully orchestrated succession plan.
She believes that succession planning is one of the most undervalued acts of leadership out there.
It really is.
It is the final test of a great leader, ensuring the house still stands long after you leave the building. She shares a brilliant framing for this transition, which she borrowed from an advisor named Mike Staver.
That's the framing.
He says, regarding succession planning and moving on to the next phase of life, don't think about what you are leaving. Think about what you are going to.
Think about what you are going to.
Yeah.
That shifts the whole energy from a sense of loss to a sense of forward momentum.
It really reframes the whole process.
It is a beautiful way to look at any major career transition. So what does this all mean? We've covered a massive amount of ground today, from a secretary's desk in Atlanta to a $365 billion network.
A truly incredible story.
The high-level summary is this. Whether you are managing an international real estate empire, or you are just trying to navigate a really crazy, chaotic week at your office, your best survival tools are not aggressive domination or pretending you have all the answers.
Not at all.
Your best tools are vulnerability, radical simplification. Remember the nightclub bouncer filtering your priorities, and unshakable optimism.
Remember that giving up control to gain trust is a universal superpower. It brings your team into the fold. And navigating disruption isn't about somehow magically avoiding the storm. It is simply about finding the embedded opportunity when everyone else is too busy panicking to look for it.
Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you with the final provocative thought to mull over. We talked about O'Connor's point regarding public distrust, how it grows when people don't understand the invisible work a professional does every single day.
Right, the behind-the-scenes effort.
Yeah. I want you to think about your own role right now, whatever it is you do. If your clients, your customers, or even your boss could see a completely transparent, moment-by-moment breakdown of your invisible work, all the late-night emails, the complex problem-solving, the fires you put out before anyone even knew they were burning, would they value you more?
That is a tough question.
Or would they question your processes? Think about it. What is one step you can take tomorrow to take that invisible work and make your hidden value completely impossible to ignore?
That is a phenomenal question to take into the week.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep pushing forward, and we will see you next time.